Hello, good evening. How are you doing?
Good,
Yeah,
good.
good. So I'm going to talk to you about your days in the US Army.
Hmm.
You will tell me how long did you serve there, and I am particularly interested of your tenure in Afghanistan. Over to you.
So I joined the army in January of 2001, and then went to training for boot camp, and then advanced training for journalism, public affairs, and media relations. Then in 2003, I was deployed to Afghanistan. My main duty station in Afghanistan was Kandahar. Kandahar airfield is where we converted the whole airfield to operate as an airfield, but it was also our offices, um, our housing, dining facilities, everything. Main base was right there for my team, which is team of 5 out of 20.
And how long did you stay in Afghanistan?
Originally, we were supposed to be there only 6 months, and then they kept extending it and kept extending it. As 6 months were ending, they would say, "Oh, we have another 2 months. You have to be there. We don't have anybody to relieve you yet." Ended up being a year and a half.
And how was the experience with your colleagues, with the American troops, with the Afghans that you came
Mhm.
into contact, and how were you able to work in public affairs? Were you trying to create some kind of confidence among the people over there, or what was exactly your mandate?
So our main mission was media relations in Afghanistan. So
Mhm.
whenever any news organization would come to Afghanistan, then we would escort them around, make sure that they didn't go to some classified areas, top secret areas. We made sure that they were safe. What they needed, we had. We made sure that if we were taking them on a mission, there was adequate security so that they're not in any harm's way. Um, Basically, facilitate them in any way needed. Aside from that, we did do journalism work, photography, um, and basically that's basically the main
And
main focus.
the reporting that you did
Hmm.
was shared with the world media or with the American media?
It was mostly on base news for the base. Some news stories would go further. The Army Times would pick it up, and then from Army Times, if another civilian news organization wanted it, then they would take our stories and publish them as well.
Was raising the morale of the troops part of your duties?
It wasn't It wasn't really an officially part of our duty, but what we did was we created a base newspaper, and we would have newspaper type things, comics and stories and articles and messages from back home, and so it would increase the morale of the troops. But that wasn't our main mission.
But you weren't interacting in any way with the local Afghans, or were you?
We were
Mhm.
so part of our mission was that we would go out and cover stories of what our units are doing in Afghanistan. So some of my favorite parts were just going around with the civil affairs units and meeting with the local village elders, and we would discuss with them what issues they're facing, what problems they have, what they need. Some things they would want is that they needed electricity, so we would provide generators for these villages so that they could have light, because a lot of these people they didn't even have electricity.
Was nation building a task assigned to your unit for formation? Because the Americans were initially doing nation building, but then they realized that perhaps they were wasting money. But that was later on because it was a 20-year war
Yeah,
and the emphasis kept changing. Initially, it
we
was
did.
nation building also.
Yeah, we were rebuilding the nation. It wasn't my unit's job particularly, but there's this the civil engineer unit. It was their job to facilitate the NGOs to come in and help with that nation building.
Did you have any embedded journalists among your ranks?
They would come and go. There was times where Christiana Mampur came and she was with us. There was one. It was I think it was about 2 weeks long time frame where a lot of Pakistan media came, and I remember specifically Dawn journalists came from Dawn.
Any particular journalists that you remember
I
or
don't
recall?
I don't recall their names, but I was actually assigned to them. And so when they were in country, I was actually going with them to every single base that they went to, every single city that they went to. So I got to see a lot of Afghanistan because of the Pakistan media.
But essentially, you were located in Kandahar,
Yes. And
but
so
you
all my missions were in that area.
okay, and Kandahar is towards the south.
It's towards the south, yeah.
Mm.
And so we had a team in Kandahar, we had a team in Bagram, we had a team in Kabul. Then we had individuals at some of the forward operating bases as
Mazar
well.
Sharif, no.
No, there was like Shkin, Turncoat, some of these smaller ones. Those are the
Mhm.
names that stick out.
Mm. Mm. And what was your feeling then that would the Americans be able to fulfill their mission? At that time, it was to defeat the Al Qaeda, and then gradually it kept changing over the 20-year long period that the Americans were there. What were your thoughts when you were deployed over there?
I was, and back then I was 23 years old, so I was very hopeful that our mission was a wholesome mission, that we were there for the people. Later on, I did see that there is a possibility of some sort of American corporation influence on our presence there. But what we did, what the civil affairs team, the psyops teams, what we were doing was, what they were doing, and I loved covering those stories and those units, is because their mission was to win the hearts and minds of the people. And to do that, you have to treat them good. You have to be nice to them. You have to give them what they want. You have to help them. And so I did see a big change as far as women's rights, because when we got there, the very first week we got there, this is a horrific story. There was one mother, she was a widow and with kids, and she needed to do grocery shopping. So she went into the market by herself, and the Taliban took her, grabbed her, took her to the town center, and they publicly executed her because she was unescorted.
Mm.
And so that was the week that we got there. And so it was very heartbreaking to hear such stories. And then towards the halfway of my deployment, they created the constitutional Loya Jirga, which which dictated, I think it was 25% of the government had to be female. And that was a scary time for us as well, because we got a lot of death threats from Taliban at that time, because this was completely against what they believe in. And so women were getting rights slowly. We were seeing more women out in the open. So I feel like that was progress in some sense.
And when the Americans withdrew in 2022,
Mhm.
that was after Trump one's administration had finished and Biden
Yes.
had just come in, and Trump had promised that he would eventually be withdrawing in May, and then Biden decided not to do so, and then he had to withdraw very hastily. What were your thoughts then?
I felt like it was too fast of a withdrawal. There's no way you can move this many troops this fast and it'd be safe. Also, we left a lot of equipment.
$7 billion
So
worth
much,
of
so much money. Had we
ammunition.
done it slowly, we could have slowly moved it all out as well. Because I don't think the cost of moving this equipment out would be 7 billion.
Mm,
And a lot of it was left for them to use.
mm,
That was against our policies. Our standard operating procedure was that we don't leave anything operational behind. If we ever had a Humvee that broke down, we would take all the equipment off of it and blow it up and leave it. Because if we left it the way it is, then it goes into the wrong hands.
mm,
And so that's what we did. And then they left helicopters, they left
mm,
Humvees, tankers, all sorts of equipment behind. And I was just shocked.
mm,
And at the time, I was getting phone calls from um, Afghan locals that had my phone number from way back in the day, because my phone number hasn't changed. Messaging on WhatsApp, "Hey, brother, can you help us? This general and that sergeant promised me this and that, and that we would be evacuated, and me and my family, and now we're in danger." And I was too far out of the military to be able to help, and it was another heartbreaking moment from this deployment.
And in hindsight, do you think that it was wise of the Americans to go into Afghanistan to kill Osama bin Laden and destroy Al Qaeda, or could there have been some other way to do the same thing? 20 years of treasure lost, blood spilled, and no tangible gains. So, in hindsight, now that you are a
Mhm.
grown up man and then you were a young man, how do you, what are your thoughts now?
I think that maybe we were a little bit naive in going into an area that history would lead you to believe that can't be conquered. So,
Graveyard of empires.
yeah, I mean, there's the Russians tried, the British tried, and we tried, and there are countless others tried. It just doesn't work. These people are just very resilient, and the landscape of of the area is just not navigatable. It's extremely harsh climates, and so had we tried to maybe do some sort of diplomacy before just going in with an all-out war, it's basically what we ended up doing in the end anyway.
Mm.
We could have avoided casualties on our side and on their side, because the problem with war is that you're going to have collateral damage, and so we can't say that every single time we hit a target we only got the bad guy. That's not true. So innocent lives were lost. American soldiers lost their lives. And all of this could have been avoided had we just not gone in with guns blazing. Maybe we took time to evaluate. Maybe we could have sent some sort of teams to assess the situation.
So, if you are sitting in the Pentagon or the State Department, what would you advise? What kind of advice would you give to your seniors in case a similar situation cropped up? I know no two situations are similar, they are always different. But the truth is, we never learn from history. These things keep repeating themselves. So, as a good patriotic American, what kind of advice would you give to your superior officer or to the President of the United States?
I think the first thing to do is something that I think everybody is told to do in all situations. When you're angry, you should take a step back. Think about what you're doing and then execute. If you act out of anger, it's going to be very impulsive, and that's not the right way to go. You're going to miss something, and I think we missed a lot. We missed a lot, and it shows, because for America to lose a 20 plus year war and back out so fast, it seems like we just ran. You know. And I guess you could kind of relate it to this current situation with Pakistan and India. I'm very proud that the way Pakistan handled it. The things that went down in this war, Pakistan took a step back, it seems like, right? India attacked for 2 days or 3 days straight with attacks here, and in almost all the major cities, and Pakistan did not respond until they were ready. And when Pakistan did respond, it was very strategic and surgical attacks to minimize collateral damage. But India didn't do this, and so I feel like we could have done the same back then.
Perhaps.
And it's possible that Pakistan learned from America's mistakes.
Quite possible.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Razia. A pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you. Best of
Thank
luck.
you.